And hi there, welcome back. In the last video, we have set up a .gitignore file, and most importantly, we have installed Sui. In this lecture, we'll be talking more about Sui, and we'll set up Sui clients on our computer so we can actually interact with the Sui blockchain. Let's start. To get you more familiar with Sui, I think it's a good idea to see the Sui blockchain, what's happening over there. So go to your browser, as I will close all these tabs here. We don't need them anymore. And we will search here for, we can go either to see Sui Vision or Sui Scan. Okay, so they are explorers of the Sui blockchain, and you can see all the transactions, what's happening there, and so on. So please search here for Sui, and I think I will go to Sui Scan like this. Sui Scan, press enter, and here is Sui Explorer, Sui Scan. Let's click on it, and you can see what's happening on the Sui blockchain. And I should switch my mobile data, I think, because there's internet what I've collected currently, it's not very good. So let's wait. Okay, so what you can see here are some metrics. Okay, so what's the market cap of Sui currently, circulating supply, and so on and so on. What's important actually to us is over here. So some metrics. You have here epochs. Okay, so Sui blockchain is happening in epochs, and one epoch lasts 24 hours. You can just hover here, and actually have an explanation for each field here. So here you have epochs, the current epoch in Sui network operation run in epochs, which are further broken down in checkpoints. Okay. So we have also checkpoints. Where are checkpoints? Total checkpoints. So here you have other blockchains works in blocks. Sui works in checkpoints. They maintain the history of the blockchain, so all the process transactions and so on. And each checkpoint points to the previous checkpoint, so they maintain the link. Okay. So here you have it. The number of checkpoints are equivalent to blocks in the Sui network. Okay. So in other blockchains you have blocks. Here you have checkpoints. Maybe kind of confusing. It says in here checkpoints, and you have here total transaction blocks. So when you're talking about the blocks here, here you can bundle transactions into blocks. So one transaction can contain multiple, basically sub transactions. So you can bundle multiple transaction into one and send as a one to the network. Okay, that's what meant here when you will hover over. You can see the number of transaction blocks with programmable type. So you have something called PDB, and that's the programmable transaction blocks, and you can pack multiple transactions into one block of transactions and send them like this to the network. Okay, it should be 1024 at the most. You can pack transaction in one block. Here you can see all the transactions that's happening in 24 hours. Transaction per second. So how much we can process currently per second? How many transactions are happening? CPS. Okay, so that number of transactions successfully run. The number. Okay, let me read it. Number of transactions in successfully run transaction blocks with the programmable transaction type. Okay, so that's the CPS. Total accounts. How many accounts have been created on Sui? And the total validators. So validators are basically the nodes running on the blockchain that validate the transaction. That's why the validators, right? You are sending the transactions to the blockchain, and they have to validate the transaction. Okay, so the number of the validator nodes. Total NFTs. Okay, so you know what are the NFTs. And total packages. So that's what we will be creating now. That's basically smart contract is package. Okay, we will be publishing package to the Sui blockchain. But we will be creating the voting system. That will be the package. Okay, the total coins created. Okay, you can see the crazy number of coins that has been created. They will be also creating in this course one coin. And directory projects. Okay, I am not really sure what are the directory projects. Okay, so that's the directory projects here. That's basically some programs, or some solutions on the Sui blockchain. So you can go over there, and they already provide some infrastructure for you. And so you can, for example, trade NFTs, or you can do something with the finances, or maybe some for games, for education, and a lot of different basically applications. Okay, so that's the directory projects. Okay, so here you have it. That's the Sui blockchain. As I mentioned before, it's very performant. It can process lots of transactions per second, up to 300,000, as I said. Very small delay. What you will notice comparing to Ethereum or other blockchains, that when you will send a transaction, it's processed really, really quickly. Okay, so what we have here, I just can draw here a little bit. Okay, and I'll create here some more space. I'll scroll down here and I'll draw here very simplified Sui blockchain. Okay, so you can imagine it as this. Here will be Sui blockchain. Call it simply Sui. And on the left side will be our local computer on which we are running Sui Client. We have already installed, right? So Sui Client. Sui Client. Okay, so what you need to do in order to communicate with the blockchain, not only with the Sui blockchain, but any other blockchain, you need to send a transaction. When you want to transfer money or transfer token, exchange token, you want to buy NFT, you want to store some data on the blockchain, you need to send a transaction. And with the Sui client, we can send the transactions. Okay, so we'll be sending a transaction to the blockchain. Okay, simply I will call it TX for transaction. For example, we want to buy a token. These transactions needs to go to the validators. Okay, on the Sui blockchain, there is a group of validators. We checked the Sui scan, right? And you saw that there was around 108 validators. You can check it out. It's there in the metrics, 108 validators. So there is a group of validators. Okay, this block will represent validators. I'll not be drawing here 108 validators and just few of them. Okay, so this block will be validators. Okay, this block and a transaction going through there. Okay, your transaction has to be validated if there is no malicious code or some malicious intentions. If not, the transaction will be accepted, executed, and side effects of the transactions will be run. So this means that you will buy a token. Okay, so what's happening on the Sui blockchain, the difference between, for example, Ethereum, where you have a shared global state, in Sui you don't have a shared global state. Everything is represented as the objects. So also your account is an object. Okay, so somewhere in the Sui blockchain there is an object representing your account, which is under some specific address. Okay, so you have your account, right? Your account. All right, and it's represented by some address. So let's say 0x123. All right, and this account owns an object of Sui coin. Let's say so you are owning the coin under your account. You have a coin. Let's say it's a Sui coin. Okay, and Sui coin also has its own address. Let's say 0x and 567. Let's imagine. And this Sui coin has a property called balance, and this will represent how much Sui you have. So let's say before transactions, you had 10 Sui. You have made a transaction to buy some Sui. So you're, let's say, 5 Sui. You made a transaction, the transaction was accepted and executed. Yeah, the state has changed. The state of your account has changed. The coin has been updated. And now you have a balance. Let's say this was updated. And now you have 15 Sui. So that's how it generally, very simplified, work on Sui blockchain. So you're not as in with Ethereum. You're not updating one global state, but you're updating just your object, because almost everything on Sui blockchain is an object. And this architecture also allow very fast execution and also parallel execution. Okay, because you're not updating only one state. You can imagine on Ethereum you have one sheet of paper, and you're updating this sheet of paper and the data on it. And you can imagine if multiple clients try to update the one paper at the same time, it can create lots of mess. So that's why the changes into the Ethereum state happening sequentially. That's why Ethereum is much slower comparing to the Sui, because in Sui everything is the object, so you have multiple sheets of paper and you can update them in a parallel at the same time. Okay, that allows to Sui to be very fast. And that's only very simplified explanation. And hopefully you got it. Also, I forgot to mention one thing on Sui blockchain. You have shared and own object ownership. In this case, with a coin, I would say this is the owned object, because account here 1, 2, 3 is owning this coin 5, 6, 7. You have also shared objects, and about them, and also more about own object I will be talking later in the next lectures. I'll clear it out. Okay, so this is Git we can close, and we'll start setting up everything. So we'll go to our terminals. Okay, currently I am in my frontend folder. Yeah, I can stay here. Verify that you can run here Sui command. You should see here commands that you can use with the Sui. What we want to do is to set up the client first. To set up the client first, you will write here Sui Client. Okay, just press enter. Okay, and this want to configure the Sui configuration file. Okay, you see it tries to do it in my home folder here, and yeah, I'm okay with this, so I will just press enter. And actually, I should one more time. Okay, let's get this Sui client and just write here Y for yes. Okay, and then Sui full node server URL defaults to Sui testnet, even not specified. So what we are we'll be connecting to actually not this mainnet Sui, but to the testnet, where we can test out our code and our applications, and they are not published to the mainnet when all of the stuff is happening. You have two testing networks. You have a testnet and devnet. The mainnet is the main one on which you are working with when you are actually sending money and all of this stuff. But before you need to test it out, that's why we will be using the testnet for now. Just press enter here, okay? Nothing more, enter. So like the key scheme to generate the key pair. So you will get now your account, your address will be generated, you will get a private key, and you will get this now 12-word key or 12-word phrase from which you can construct this private key. So just press here 0 for the type of algorithm. Okay, and that's it. Now, scroll a little bit up, because we maybe skip this. Up here, when I press the enter, you can see here, generated a new key pair and alias for address with a scheme, ed, and this. So here is my alias for my address, eloquent Jasper, and here is my account, my address. Okay, this 32 byte. Okay, the length of this is 32 bytes. Okay, these ones are hexadecimal characters. There is 64 of them. So that's your identifier on the network. When you are sending that money, for example, or tokens on the blockchains, you are sending them to the addresses. Okay, to not forget about our phrase. Here is a secret recovery phrase. You should never ever share it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, not very smart thing, I will get it. I will copy it. Copy this phrase, what you have been generated for you. It should be different. It will be for 100% different. Copy this phrase. Go to your code. And here in our frontend folder, I will create a new file. I will call it .secret like this. And I will paste it here. That's my recovery phrase. And you don't ever want to share it, so you don't want to also push it for sure to GitHub repository. The secret thing you could do is to write it on the piece of paper, not store it on here. That's not very safe what I'm doing, but for the purposes of this lecture, I will keep it here. Also, I want to have it in frontend folder, so let's drag it into frontend folder. I don't want to include it into GitHub, so I will go to my gitignore file, and I will write here .secret. Okay, and this should be grayed out. Okay, so when we have set up now Sui client, you should see additional things here. So I will clear the screen out so you can see it better here. Okay, so you should store your phrase, and now you can write here Sui, and we'll use the client command, Sui client for interacting with the Sui network. Okay, so I'll clear it out, and let's write here Sui client addresses, for example, and this will list all of the addresses. And you should see here the list of addresses. So here it is. what I have been generated, the alias for my address, and here is my address, and it's an active one. That's the start. Says that it's active. When you write here Sui client active dash address, this should link your active address. How to check what network you are connected to? So write here Sui client again, like this, and Sui client, and there should be command active environment. Okay, so when you write here Sui client active dash env, you should see that you are connected to testnet. If you want to see how much Sui you have on your account, you can write your Sui client balance. And let's see, no coins found for this address, so we don't have any coins because you just created this account. So to get some testing Sui, you can write your Sui client and facet like this. Press enter, and this should send you some testing Sui. Sometimes it doesn't work first try. It's very interesting that it didn't work. I will try one more time. Sometimes you need to try a few more tries, and eventually you will get some. I already had this problem before, and faucet service received too many requests from this IP address. Please try again. I didn't try it. I promise I didn't try it before. I just... Okay, maybe this will not work. Okay, for you, it should probably work. For me, it doesn't work now. So I'll try to connect with my other internet, or I will use my maybe VPN. Okay, doesn't work definitely for some reason. Okay, let me reconnect. And yeah, it worked finally. Okay, so just give it a few more tries. If it doesn't work immediately, okay, I don't try again anymore. I got my one Sui, and it will be more than enough. As you will see, the transactions on Sui are very cheap, not comparable to Ethereum. We're just paying few cents for its transactions, and here we are just testing it out. So we have anyway fake Sui just for testing. Okay, so now when you write your Sui client balance, you should see here how much coin you have, and you have currently one Sui. Balance row is this, because one Sui, the row balance means how much mist you have. So that's smaller, it's smaller denominator of Sui. You can one Sui is equal to 1 billion mist. Okay, so you have 1 billion mist is equal to 1 Sui. Okay, so that the mist is a smaller denominator of Sui coin. Okay, so that's gonna be what I wanted to cover in this video. So now we have our account created, we have our balance, we are identified by the address, we set up our key pairs, and we can continue in the next video. We will be setting up a wallet. Okay, so you can actually see your account in a wallet, and you can see how much balance you have. Okay, so for this, I see you next video. Cheers.